Hello, Merry Meet. So, I want to review a book. The book I want to review is The Three Rays of Witchcraft Power, Love, and Wisdom in the Garden of the Gods by Christopher Penczak. And I think this is a great book. Basically, what it's about is that you have this eclectic witch, Christopher Penczak. There he is. I think this is published by Copper Cauldron, isn't it? Yeah, it's Copper Cauldron. Of course it's Copper Cauldron because he's part of the owners of Copper Cauldron, so of course they will be publishing his book. Anyway, basically, it's one of those books that you don't find a lot of because most witchcraft books are your typical witchcraft 101 books, or it's books about herbs and something like that. This is a book about eclecticism, but how to put an eclectic system, basically put a system into eclecticism. Because a lot of us that are eclectic, we take a little bit here, and a little bit there, and we form a spirituality of it, but those parts don't really fit together. So you might have a little bit of Geraldian Wicca, and a little bit of Strega, the typical Italian witchcraft, and you have a little bit of folk magic, and you have a little Shintoism, and you have a little bit of various forms of Native American ideas, and you just add what works for you. And basically, sorry for moving around, just had to avoid that light. And basically, you just add and add and add. And while this is definitely not a book that discusses the idea, the morality behind that, like I said, I am not a fan of this whole cultural appropriation hysteria, and it doesn't discuss that, but it does discuss that very often what you are left with is a lot of disparate parts instead of a cohesive whole. And what he has done is that he had a vision where he saw how to put a lot of these systems into one, so that you have a lot of different ideas, different concepts that are then fit into a system. Now I have to say that for me, the system he describes, while it's interesting and it's a paradigm I could work with, it will definitely never be my main paradigm. But this, the way he has done it, it's very interesting because it's a good way to learn how to make a paradigm out of disparate elements and spiritual systems. So you can say it's a key, it's a how-to. And as such, while I don't usually like to mix role-playing games and real magic, well, unless that's the point of it, I would say this is a book that I would definitely recommend people who are into Mage Ascension reading, because it can be a great way to learn how to make a paradigm. So, yes, for me, the system behind it, basically his thought processes for how to make this system, is more interesting than the system itself. Now, the system is one based on trees. Basically, its root is in Celtic lore. And what he has is that you have an idea of three rays. It's Celtic lore and Theosophism is the basic roots of it. But the way he sees it is that there's three rays in spirituality. You have a straight one, which is basically the dynamic one. Here we're getting back to dynamism, stasis, and entropy. You have the very dynamic one. You have the go-get one. And then you have the a wavy one that goes into branches. That's the fairy path, as he describes it, which is the preserving one. And then you have the very crooked one that is basically the entropic one, which is the path of witchcraft. And he basically shows how we can fit different things from Christianity to typical Wicca to anything into these systems. And instead of having a duality, he has a trio. And it's a very good system. It's might not be completely for me, but it is a good system and it does make sense. And I think it's a pretty good way to view the world and view magic. He has some rituals in here for working with that system. He calls it a grimoire, but I wouldn't necessarily call it that because there's not a lot in there. But there are basically paths to start a self-initiatory system within this. Now, I think that these rituals might be a little bit hard to do for a lot of people because they are for most part path working. So while there are some words to say, there are path workings, and there's a lot to memorize because there are long path workings that are just written down. One way to make this easier, just as a little tips, is to read that section for yourself into the microphone of your phone, computer, whatever you have, and then play it back as you're doing it ritual as a guided meditation. So you don't have to memorize the entire thing. And as such, I think these are very powerful rituals. There are not a lot of practical rituals. There's a couple of them there, but for the most part, they are spiritual in nature. He also have a lot of sections, like these ones, for example, with charts about how he would fit various systems into his system. I have been wanting to do some of these rituals, though with reading things in, and that seems pretty good. He has some group rituals here, but most of them are very nice. Would be very nice for a solitary practitioner. But like I said, here is one of those rituals. There you have something to say. All of this are just descriptions of the guided basically the pathwork in the guided meditation, and that's a lot of things to memorize when you're also trying to get into ritual consciousness. So yeah, using a tool for that would be good. The book fits very well together. It goes into details on both theosophy and Celtic lore and mixes those two gloriously. And I really like it because it's different. It's a very neat concept, and I think that while you might not be interested in this particular system, the book can be a good way to learn how to take disparate aspects within your own path and make a system out of it. Now for me, I haven't really felt the need to do that because I am a chaot, and I do change paradigms like other people change tunes. I will work with one system or even several systems at the time when I need that, and then change my paradigm and work with something else. So for example, I might decide to do a candle magic ritual, and I take on a paradigm of basic neo-pagan witchery, and then I might be going with a friend to church, and I switch my paradigm into an Abrahamic one, so that I can use the prayers and rituals of the Christian religion to achieve my goals. I have basically the system is a change paradigm, or you can say that the system is the lack of a system, where I feel that all of these paradigms are just tools, and the tools doesn't necessarily need to fit together completely for it to work. However, this is a great book for getting ideas for how to make a paradigm, and it is a good paradigm in itself. Like I said, there are some of these rituals here I really want to do, and he has a grand circle casting that's so awesome. Unfortunately, that do require more participants, which if I can get a lot of people, and I mean this needs a lot of people. They are doing circle dances in 3 rings. That's a lot of people and it's complicated. You need all the participants to be fairly skilled occultists. So it's not just, oh, well, we have an open circle day and 20 people. That might actually not be enough, but we are getting there. People showed up. So let's do this. No. You need then 20, 30 skilled occultists working with this system. That's not so realistic. But if I can ever get that together, that would be an awesome circle to do. And I think you can modify this to work as a solitary circle if you really want to do something special for the ritual ones. So yeah, there's a lot of good things in the book. The rituals are well written, though they, like I said, they are bath and path working. Excellent. Path working. Your new bath water. It is based in path working. And that means you either have to be very good at memorizing, or you have to cheat. Or you have to have a friend reading it to you as you work. I prefer to cheat. It's definitely spiritual other than practical. You have a few practical things with herbs and some basically some divination and such. But for the most part, they are spiritual in nature. But I really like them. It's a good book. It's a really, really good book about a unique topic. And I really recommend it. It's basically how you take things as different as Theosophism, Taoism, Shintoism, Wicca, ancient Celtic beliefs, and ritual magic. And you fit them into a complete whole, and it actually fits. It fits well. This is a good system that just works well together. So yeah, then that's pretty amazing. So yeah, as for reading the book, it's dry and it's not flowing very well. The author used the same words too often, and by that I mean you could say basically it's things that where he could use an alternative word, it would seem more flowing, but instead he used the same word again and again and again and again and again and again and again, so it gets very, yeah, you know what people say in writer's class, don't do that. So it's not well written. But the information in here is really, really good. So yeah, and that's the emblem of his system. So this is a good book for pagan eclectic spirituality, and I really like it and I really recommend it. And that is my review of The Three Rays of Witchcraft: Power, Love, and Wisdom in the Garden of the Gods by Christopher Penczak. I give this book 8 out of 10. So yeah, and it's not a beginner book. Just be aware that I should say before I end there. You should have some experience with witchcraft before you read this, or it won't make that much sense. So if you're just looking for some beginner books, skip this one until you have some experience behind you. Then it'll work very well. And if you are, why not also go into rage because somebody used sage because it belongs only to Native Americans? This book will just piss you off, so you don't even need to pick it up. And if you are just interested in following one single path, then this isn't the book for you. It's about eclecticism. But if you are not in those 3 categories, I think you will like this book, and it belongs in your occult library. So yeah, as I said, have a great day, and blessed be.